Welcome to GlideChat, where we give you the rundown of all things ServiceNow. Let's talk about the now, right now.
Welcome everybody to another edition of GlideChat. Today I'm here with Brian Wissinger to talk about SPM, where we dive into strategic portfolio management with someone who's been in the space for quite a long time at GlideFast. Welcome, Brian. How's everything going?
Thanks, Brett. Everything's going great. Appreciate you having me on today to talk about SPM in the marketplace, kind of where we see ourselves as GlideFast living there and where we see expansion happening within the rest of the industry. So I'm looking forward to diving into it today. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, who are you? What do you do? Why are we even talking today? What's your role at GlideFast?
So my role at GlideFast, I'm an Associate Vice President of Professional Services. So I kind of oversee our SPM, EA, and platform product areas. So what that means is I kind of run our product management team. I run our implementation teams. I'm our liaison to the ServiceNow product teams, and I'm kind of the face of the industry from a GlideFast standpoint.
So some might say you're kind of a big deal around here.
Some may say that. I don't know if everybody would say that, but some may.
There's certain that wouldn't. We'll leave the wives out of this, but that's okay. So let's just level set for everybody here. What's SPM? I know ServiceNow has changed the definition over the years for what it actually means, but in 2025, level set it. What does SPM mean for people that don't know?
So SPM within the context of the ServiceNow platform is really kind of the business aspect of ServiceNow. So really SPM, strategic portfolio management, kind of how it started. I know we'll get into it in a little bit, but it started from a kind of a small IT business management thing that was focused on IT projects to now it's expanded into kind of the world of the entire business. Allowing business, even non-IT entities within the business, to start to strategically plan how they're going to spend their money by aligning the business capabilities and goals and allowing for IT costs to be kind of leveled in there, but not more as an attribute than the main focus.
And so with that, what sort of problems does it actually solve for the different organizations? So if someone was to go out and buy SPM as a product suite, what do you get inside of that? What does it actually do for you?
So what it really does is it really, and ServiceNow used this terminology a few releases ago, and I still kind of stand by it. It really is an investment request. You're asking the organization to spend money on something. And what SPM allows you to do is to align that business investment request to different goals, priorities, and investment buckets to allow the organization to track their spend and to project their spend into future years. It also kind of allows you to align different IT assets and resources to those investments. So you get a bigger picture of not only kind of the hardware, software, and the asset piece of it, but the person piece of it and the strategy that goes along with it.
Okay. For me, it's way above here. Now tell it to me like I'm a 5-year-old. What are you doing with the money in the organization? How are you able to track it better with SPM?
So bringing it down to kind of the 100-foot level, right? I'm going to go in and ask the organization to spend something on anything, right? So I have a request that comes in and I'm asking you to go spend money. So what do I need to do in order for you to give me that money? I need to go in and I need to evaluate that request to see if it actually aligns with what we're trying to do as a business organization, or do we actually have money to actually fund that request? Once that decision happens, it allows me then to align that request to anything that we're trying to do, making sure that with our defined kind of business goals and outcomes, that what we're spending money on actually aligns to something that we actually need.
Okay. So essentially I have a bucket of money, I need to spend it, but now this is the accountability piece just to make sure that we're on target and it's going to the right places.
Yes, that's exactly right. It's giving me some better insight into how I'm spending my money, not just from an IT standpoint, but from a business standpoint.
Okay, so I'm an expert now. Perfect. That's fantastic. You said that it started off as ITBM or the business management. So how has it evolved over the years to what it is today? What sort of strides has ServiceNow taken to get us from A to B over the course of several years?
So that's a pretty interesting question. So it started out as an IT business management, and then there was an IT financial management application that kind of went alongside with it. And the goal of the original IT business management application was really, again, I'm an IT person, and we have a bunch of IT projects. How do I manage those IT projects? As I like to say, ServiceNow is a platform, an IT platform built and built specifically for IT people, right? And it has evolved since then. So, the traditional just demand project portfolio piece of what ITBM was has now evolved to come out of the IT shell of the company and really transform into the business part of the company. So it's the IT office is still sitting in there and can still utilize things, but now we're talking to C-level people and to business managers about what they're actually doing within the organization and how they can strategically align whatever they're doing to the overall business capabilities and goals at the enterprise level. So it's gone from a kind of an IT centric module, small module, to a enterprise business module within probably the last 4 or 5 years. The expansion has been absolutely crazy.
So the products contained in SPM. So I know there's project. I'll go real slow here. There's portfolio. What else exists inside of the SPM suite?
So as we talked a little bit earlier, the main starting point within this in the suite is demand management, which again was called investment request a while ago, but that's kind of your starting point. I'm going to ask the organization to spend money. SPM allows you then to route that request to a bunch of different other pieces of the platform that allows you to see value immediately, because you're going through an evaluation process in the beginning part of it to say, okay, we're going to approve the money to be spent here. Now it needs to go somewhere else, whether it is going to go to be a multi-year, multi-million-dollar project, or a defect that may need to be solved within your IT software development cycle. There are a lot of different places that your demand can go. So it's just not project and portfolio anymore. It can go to a variety of places within the platform. Also within SPM, you can do capacity and resource management. You can do strategic planning and priorities. You could do strategic goal alignment. There are so many more things at the enterprise level now that they've done recently that allows, again, the business to have a visibility into kind of what is going on at the enterprise level in the platform, not only just in IT, but across HR, across operations. Basically every part of your business now can be managed and maintained through the SPM application in ServiceNow.
Okay. No, that's great. Thanks for educating me on the different pieces there, and definitely it seems to be a lot of value on the business side. But it's occurred to me that we don't work for ServiceNow, Brian. So at GlideFast, we're a service implementation partner. So how does that fit in to the SPM piece? What sort of practice do you run and have here at GlideFast?
So within my module area, right, the way that we utilize it in our development teams and our implementation teams is really using the agile development piece of the SPM kind of portfolio. What you're doing in agile really is managing your product development. So we're using it internally on our side is we're using stories and epics and themes. We're aligning those to business capabilities within the organization that they may need. We're also being able to track our spend and our resource allocation and capacity for that particular project. So, we like to say here that we eat our own dog food. GlideFast, we run on ServiceNow. So we utilize the ServiceNow, especially the SPM piece, we utilize that a lot in our project management. And then in turn, we can kind of, sell that back to the customers and say, hey, listen, we do it here, so you can do it on your side. We also utilize it more for kind of talking business strategy, right? In our advisory services piece, we can use a lot of the SPM kind of framework to frame discussions around advisory with customers around their business outcomes and goals. What are you really trying to accomplish here? And then how can we utilize what you're telling us there to set yourself up for success for not just ServiceNow, but any business platform, right? Business capabilities, business strategy, they go over not just pieces of platform or software, but in your entire strategy. So we can utilize the framework that ServiceNow does in order to kind of guide businesses and say, hey, if you're not doing this right now, maybe this is something you should look at.
Okay. So we talked a little about customers in there. What kind of customers are adopting SPM? And are you seeing any sort of a trend move from industry to industry as longer that you've been in the ServiceNow space?
Where we really started seeing it early on was with financial management companies. A lot of financial services companies were trying to utilize it more for their investment requests and investment portfolios. Where we've seen it now expand a lot more is in the manufacturing area. Pharmaceutical companies are using the SPM piece for planning, for multi-year, multi-project planning. Especially the pharmaceutical companies have a lot of multi-million-dollar projects that extend for a long time. So we've seen them use the planning capability a lot. And then on the other side, to the DoD space, the government, the PubSec sector are really starting to utilize, understanding that we have all these projects all over, different programs, different agencies, and we need a kind of single lens to look through everything. So it really isn't specific in industries because again, the ServiceNow, the SPM piece is a business driven piece. So any business looking to utilize, strategy or goal driven outcomes are going to be interested in using SPM.
So you say it's not industry specific, which ServiceNow isn't. It's agnostic, but each industry adopts it at a different point in time. So I kind of want to pivot over to the nonprofit organizations. What have you seen, or what have we seen at GlideFast, or what can you pontificate upon where the value lies with nonprofits getting into SPM? Just give me your 30-second commercial elevator pitch of where they could see the value.
Right. So I can see nonprofits really utilizing this for governance and auditing purposes, or for understanding their kind of IT stack and how cost effective it really is. Utilizing the pre-built workflows within ServiceNow to just gain visibility into where their IT assets are and how they manage and govern them.
Okay. So more mission-driven organizations and try to be lean with the resources, try to do more with less kind of approach.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's definitely automation pieces, right? So that's anything in ServiceNow, but specifically within the business, the SPM piece, the workflows and the processes that you're examining and kind of going through, there are definitely places for efficiencies that you can find there that can, especially with like you said, the limited resources in the nonprofit area, right? If you can automate pieces of an approval workflow that can approve resources to be allocated to a project or some kind of capability, I can see that helping them in the long run a lot.
Okay. No, I think that's some good insight, and I really appreciate just exposing everybody to SPM and people that might not have heard about it, especially in that particular space. But I want to put ServiceNow aside. I want to learn about you, about Brian, about Wiss, right? How did you get into this space? How did you end up being the SPM guy at GlideFast Consulting?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm not a techie guy whatsoever. I have a finance background. That's what I graduated college with. That's where I spent most of my years. And I was doing cost estimates in the Marine Corps actually when the aforementioned IT financial management application was released within ServiceNow. And my old boss told me that, hey, you should go learn this. You should learn this. You're a finance guy. You should learn this, learn how it works. This is where the businesses are going to start driving their messaging within ServiceNow. So I kind of hopped on that bandwagon and learned the IT financial management application. And by the time I became an expert, it got deprecated, which then naturally led me to move into the SPM space because, again, business-driven outcomes on both sides were virtually the same. When you talk about SPM and you talk about SPM within ServiceNow, it's less technical, right? And it's more thought driven. It's more mapping. It's more understanding how you want to aggregate data across your organization. And it doesn't matter if it's ServiceNow or not. That's any business. How do we tell our story and tell our story to the right stakeholders? ServiceNow's SPM, especially what they've done over the last few years, has really allowed that kind of narrative, that kind of story to be told a lot easier. But that goes above any technology, right? Can any organization sit there and confidently say, this is what we offer our customers, this is what we offer our internal resources, and here's how we get better at doing that. And that's ultimately what the SPM goal is.
So were you at that moment in time when your old manager told you to go learn this? Were you like, this is flash in a pan? We were like, okay, I could see there's some value here. Yeah, I'll go ahead and learn it and dive into it. Where were you? What side of the fence were you on?
I saw the immediate value in it because the very first use case that I ever saw was that, hey, Brett Karl, you cost the organization $200 per hour to be here. Why
I
is
do.
that,
Yeah.
right? Why is that? How do I know that? And it was a breakdown of you could see all the costs associated with you, not just for your chair and your hardware and your assets, but your computer, the software you have installed in the computer, the security that's ran in the background, the amount of money you have to spend on a server, right? So understanding actually how much people cost and where you can recoup those costs was very interesting to me, again, with the kind of background of the finance piece. So that's kind of what got me hooked in, and understanding that this is going to be a story that can be told, in perpetuity. It's going to go on forever.
Yeah, I totally expense that Millennium Falcon. That's not cheap to keep me employed. I'll tell you that. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's great. So you've been doing this for quite a long time. I would imagine over 10 years or so
Yep.
at this point or close to it. What's the craziest SPM implementation story? And if it's really back office finance boring, that's fine. What's your craziest ServiceNow story instance you've run into, project that you've done in that time space?
The craziest one was, and I keep referring to the IT financial management application, but I was asked to recreate it after it was deprecated. With a very well-known large university in the Northeast that wanted the exact same functionality rebuilt for them as a scoped app. That was, after a lot of workshops and discussions and and back and forth and development to prove that this was not going to be as easy as they thought. We kind of agreed upon some certain areas and some certain things that we could do. But trying to just get thrown in there and rebuild a deprecated application of the ServiceNow platform is not something for the faint of heart, and I wouldn't recommend it for anybody.
Yeah, see, my money was on you're still working on it today. Like you're still in those sessions today. It's been 8 years, but we're gonna make this thing. We're not giving up. No, yeah, that's kind of nuts that you kind of want a full blown built out ServiceNow module process that's existed at one point to rebuild the whole thing with the small team. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So, with AI and everything going on, I'm going to assume that that's the answer to the next question. Right? What's the future SPM? Where's it all going? What are the advancements? I know that there's an analysis module for SPM. GlideFast can implement it. I know all of that, but what sort of past that opportunities are there going to be in that space?
Yeah, I mean the future is going to be very bright. It's in its infancy right now. I would argue that the what ServiceNow has currently with the skills that they have created is good, but it's very baseline. Where I see this going is the expansion into telling a business story. Where I see this going, I've been talking to our people about is creating things that are analyzing the current platform and creating business outcomes from there. If you don't understand what your business capabilities are for your business, create a skill that will go in and analyze what your data is doing in there and spit out some business case. This is what you guys do. This is how you go about doing it. Being able to define business outcomes that they maybe not have thought of before, to me, is going to be something that is going to be useful and going to be utilized within the next year or two. I'm really driving us to kind of take a look at that and have those conversations with everybody, because the AI conversations within the customers is, what do you need it to do, right? It's not just I want AI in here. It's a larger conversation, right? It's like, where is it going to be valuable for you? What do you have? What do you want that you don't have now? And having those conversations and driving those capabilities, I think the platform is ripe for it. It's there for it, and it's kind of, the world is your oyster. The data is there. What do you want to do with it? How do you want to go about utilizing it? Specifically with an SPM, like I said, business capabilities, business services. I also see a great market for resource management, for an automated resource manager to be able to come in and take a look at your resource and availability and allocations, and within a matter of a second or two, take care of that and let your resource manager do some other things. So I think the future for AI within the SPM area is brighter than most of the other modules, because again of that business focus. What can we do with the business outcomes here?
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I'm going to give ServiceNow $1 million idea right now. I would like to see a listing of all the employees at GlideFast with their certifications, with their availability, with the customer and prospect pipeline, with past success. And I want to know the ROI of each employee and how that goes up as they achieve a new cert or we bring in different people. Because to me, that's a ton of value, is that predictive side of saying, okay, if we end up bringing on a new person or we invest in the current people we have, what's the outcome going to be from a business management side of things, right? From that projection for our revenue. Again, that's a $1 million idea. I'll give that away for free. No problem. They can get started on that. I think we've talked enough about SPM. So the last thing I want to talk about is kind of a passion of yours, and that's coaching baseball. So I want to know how you think the team's going to do this year. I'm going to guess this. You're still doing this. Several years later, how's the team looking?
Well, at the beginning of the year, every year it's a little, we're stuck in the mud a little bit at the beginning of every year, but we typically turn on midway through the season to the end. I've been coaching these boys for quite some time, so it's been great, and I love it. But I think we're gonna have a good year this year for sure.
I'll hold you to that. We'll come back next time and we'll see how the season went, and we'll do a full analysis of it. So appreciate that. All right. Well, thank you, Brian, for joining us. Really appreciate the conversation, learning a bit more about SPM, how GlideFast can help, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, and thank you, everybody, for joining.
Yep. Thank you very much, Brett.
Do you have a topic in mind that you'd like to discuss? Reach out to us at glidefast.com and subscribe to our podcast for new episodes. Thanks for listening.